Boom! What's happening, people? It is the off season, and you are hanging out with us. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Giants Rush. Of course, plenty to talk about. Coach getting fired, coaches storming off, new coaches coming in, and guess what? How about them Cowboys? Yeah, baby. Cowboys lose. Eagles lose. Feels good to be alive, right? You can definitely rest on the fact that, the Eagles lost. I'll refer to Chris in a second, but 5 of 6, I think it might be. So where the Giants were headed in the right direction, winning 4 of 6, opposite for the Eagles. A lot of things happening in Giants land. We said we'd have a show if and when, because the snow got in the way there, if and when the Cowboys and the Eagles lost. So let's bring in Chris and let's talk a little Giants football, because we're here 52 weeks of the year. We're glad you guys are hanging out with us. I see you guys piling in the room. What's going on, gentlemen? Let's bring in Chris. Chris.
Hey, Greg. Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Whoo, baby. The Cowboys lose and the Eagles lose. It's like Christmas all over again.
I think that equals a Giants win. When you have the Cowboys and Eagles both losing a playoff game, that equals a Giants win. That's one win for the Giants.
Heck yeah, man. As I was just saying, Chris, Giants, technically trending in the right direction with winning 4, I think it was 4 or 6. Eagles losing, winning
5
1
of
of
6.
1 and 6, right? 1 and 5.
Right.
Just again, we're always looking for what are we doing right, what are we doing, but we spend too much time on what are we doing wrong, because Twitter loves that. What we're doing right is we're figuring things out. Players are playing hard. We're still winning games, right? So The good thing is the Giants are trended in the right direction. And if you think about the NFC East, Brian Daboll will be the only coach left standing. The way we're going at it right now, Sirianni and McCarthy, jobs probably both in limbo as we speak.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what's happened in the last couple days, right? Let's start off with, and I don't know if we have and we probably do. Where do you want to start off? You want to start off with the whole Daboll criticism stuff, or do you want to start off with coaches that are being interviewed and hired? Where do you want to start?
Why don't we just hit the ones that have been hired and then transition to Daboll and then the interviews? How about that?
Love it. Okay, so we know McGahee gets let go. We know Wink resigns. And then, basically, the Giants fire his right-hand man, his linebacker coach, and his brother, which, of course, upsets Daboll. Daboll storms off, says a bunch of things, blah, blah, blah. Leaks. His camp leaks a bunch of stuff to, Pat Leonard, right? And now we're looking for new coaches, right? Kafka's getting interviewed for a couple positions. So there's some positions open. Let's start off with special teams interviews. I know there's some guys, on the docket you want to talk about. We've had, McGahee's been with the regime for quite some time, over 2, head coaches. We can never really put our finger on why McGahee was there or why he wasn't. But what's happening? I see Jesse. Hello, Jesse. Thanks for tuning in. And of course, I see Brad popping in the room. Tell me a little. Again, the special teams thing is odd for me because we kept a guy who just couldn't produce good special teams, Chris. So Who are they interviewing right now? Who is in the pipeline?
Yeah, and don't forget Priscilla was hired, so we got to just touch upon him because we had talked about him. Yeah. So Matt Harper, assistant special teams coach with the Niners. He's been there a couple of years, but also was with the Eagles from 2013 to 2020. And just keep in mind, he was there with Brandon Brown. So I always try to have that connection with Brandon Brown, the assistant GM with the Giants, being with the Eagles. So that could come into play. But the fact that he was with the Eagles for that many years, and then once Peterson was let go, obviously that's when Sirianni, I guess, brought in his guys, and then he transitioned to the Niners. So definitely has a lot of experience as an assistant. So hasn't been a head special teams, but he's been an assistant for quite a number of years. And then we hear today Carlos Polk. Don't really know too much about him other than he's jumped around with like 6 teams. He's been with the Bears for a little while, but he's been an assistant special teams coach for about maybe like 7 seasons. So going back a while. He's been, but once again, he hasn't had an opportunity either to be a special teams coach. So those are the 2 coordinators we're hearing about right now.
You know what's interesting too, and we're not quite ready to transition into the Daboll talk, but I will say one thing I find disappointing, and it has been since we talked to Leonard Marshall, and we've talked to a couple Pepper Johnson, we've talked to a bunch of former guys. There's a lot of guys that have to go, that are former Giants, that have to go get jobs elsewhere. I am a little disappointed in the organization that they don't hire, maybe some of their former guys. Yes, there's been front office guys like Charles Way, and David Tyree. But Chris, we're looking for a special teams coach. Chase Blackburn is staring him right in the face.
He was with the Titans this year again, right?
This year he was with the Patriots.
Patriots, okay.
So he was with the Titans for, I think, 2 years. And then he moved to the Patriots, and I don't know quite why he made the move. I remember I spoke to him. He said, "Hey, you got a free set of hands to come out here and help me move?" And I was like, "Dude, you're an NFL coach. What do you don't need me for, right?" And you got like 3 boys, right? Like running around that Blackburn house. But it would be cool. I think it'd be very cool if they would entertain, at least interviewing Blackburn, because, hey, Mark Thompson, see you piling in the room. But I would really like to bring, or at least interview, Chase Blackburn. He's been in the league now as a coach now for, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 6 years, and he knows the market really well. And I'd love to see him. Speaking of special teams, Chris, I tweeted out today.
Actually, you know what? I will say, was he with the Rams this year?
Unless he moved again.
He might have. I just looked him up because, maybe we hear his name the next couple of days because the Rams just got knocked out. But I'm showing here that he may be with the Rams this year. Maybe somebody can just confirm that.
Yeah, I'll look it up too.
So maybe we'll hear his name. Maybe that's something
Cole
that we'll
for
hear.
special teams coach. Blackburn's been the assistant special teams coach at a couple teams. He's done a pretty decent job. What's up, Shawnee B? So I was like, the interesting thing, and it made me think of Blackburn also too, Chris, is on his Instagram account, or maybe it was a Twitter account. I did repost it today, that Carter Coughlin must have been alerted that he's not coming back. So, he had said, what a pleasure. I'll pull it up. What a pleasure it was, playing for the Giants, seemed a little bit, down that was their decision. So speaking of, because Carter Coughlin reminds me a little bit of Blackburn, like a grinder, but he just never could seem to get on the field, Coughlin.
Yeah, and I think Cam Brown, who's a very good special teamer, also said the same thing.
Great special teamer.
Yeah.
But Cam Brown hasn't been let go.
No, but Cam Brown, I believe, also said he doesn't expect to be back with the Giants. I think he put that out there last week.
Oh, I did not know that. That's really disappointing. I'm sure Cam Brown wants to start somewhere, as a linebacker, but damn, was he a good special teams player.
He was. You know what, Craig, when you think about it, I think, if Cam Brown can't get on the field with all the linebacker issues the Giants have had, probably, he had an opportunity that he could have, possibly broken through at some point. The fact that he hasn't, it just shows that they're looking in a different direction where they like to get somebody that can play special teams but also contribute at the linebacker position as well. And it doesn't seem like Cam Brown really gets on the field that play linebacker.
Yeah. Here's Carter Coughlin's quote. It says, "Crazy that this chapter has come to a close. Thank you for everything, Big Blue. It's been an honor." And again, like, I guess, maybe that's where it comes in. Maybe your special teamers need to play defense, right? I don't know. Like,
some depth.
Because Cam Brown and Carter Coughlin did not get on the field for defensive snaps, but great special teams players.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving down the line to
and Craig, before you move, I want to throw two names out there. I don't know this will happen, but when you look at Mike McCarthy, and we'll see at the end of the week if he keeps his job, and also Sirianni with all the rumblings. Michael, I think it's Clay, is the special teams coach for the Eagles. Keep an eye on him. He's been with the Eagles for a bunch of years. He's a Brandon Brown connection special teams coach. So if Sirianni gets let go, he may be free. And then also Jim Fossil's son, John Fossil, with the Cowboys. I don't know if there's a relationship there with Daboll, if there's any connections, but, he's a very good special team coach going back to the Rams. So, keep an eye on John Fossil if something happens to McCarthy.
All right. I will definitely look into that because there is a possibility that some of these guys lose their jobs, right? And they are available. Hey, Mark. Hey, Sean. See you guys all jumping in the room. Thanks for tuning in. I know we're not normally on Tuesday, but it seems like the last 2 weeks we've been on Tuesday. So it's definitely, unique for us to be on Tuesday. So we'll be going back to our Monday regular show starting next week or the week after. And Shawnee B is going to be sitting in with us too, to start doing some Giants content with us. So if you guys haven't got a chance to follow Sean, check Sean out. Make sure you're following him. We're going to bring on the big dog from Florida and get him in here to talk some Giants football with us. And by the way, yes, Brad, it is a great point. My guy, Brad, is that Jim Fossil's, and Jim Fossil was the coach of the Giants. His little kid, John Fossil, was running around on the sidelines, when he was a kid. And here he is, coaching in the NFL, following his dad's footsteps. So there should be a lot of unique plays here at special teams. I know special teams is important. We all agree they're important, but it never seems like we're ever any good at them. And I think it's because we haven't really had any dynamic returners, right? We don't return the ball. And now we got this cast off from Pittsburgh. I don't know, what was he signed 4 weeks ago?
Something like that. We had fumbling issues, and you could see when he goes down, he's getting two arms on that ball now. Yep. So
and then all of a sudden the guy turns a punt 90 yards, and you're like, holy smoke, we haven't done that in a decade or more. So that's super exciting to see. I would guess he would be, getting himself a new contract because, he was like, I guess, a elevation from the practice squad, signed from Pittsburgh, so that's really headed in the right direction. And again, don't know what the philosophy is with Coughlin and Cam Brown not coming back. So just hopefully they know what they're doing, or the new special teams coach knows what he's doing. All right, let's not forget to talk about, you briefly mentioned it. What is your opinion of the new offensive line coach? Because we finally have one. I'm hoping this changes our projection for 2024, because everyone in Giants land had enough of Bobby Johnson.
Yeah, from what I've seen online, in terms of some video, there's a couple of videos out there, him being mic'd up, having a great rapport with the with the players, with the offensive line. Seems like a guy's guy, but also means business when he wants to when he wants to teach. And by all accounts, it seems like he's a teacher. So I'm going to throw something at you. Colton Miller, who's their Pro Bowl left tackle, was injured for a few games, and their second round pick, Munford came in for a few games and actually did pretty well. So the talk is that this guy is a teacher, that he can get the most out of his players. He'll elevate the ceiling, or actually, make you reach your ceiling and not underperform, but play to your potential. So I think that's what the Giants need at that position, right, Greg? We need a teacher, somebody you may not have the best offensive line prospect, but you want the guy to reach his potential.
Someone that can actually break it down and say, hey, you should try. Let's break down what you're doing now, and let's move you to this model, because this over here isn't working. Let's see if we can get you to live up to your potential. Find out what your flaws are, what you're good at, and let's try to move you in that direction. Because letting him continue to do the same thing doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I know he went in the offseason to train with someone, and they changed his stance. It didn't make a damn difference, right?
Who are you talking about, Neil? Neil?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right.
So, and I apologize if I didn't say Neil. So the new coach has got to be a teacher to say, hey, this is who you were. This is who we're going to make you, right? We're going to find something that works for you. And it might be something as simple as whatever he did in Alabama, right? Like it might be allowing him to play the position as he's been playing it. A lot of guys, you get in the NFL, you got to do it this way. You got to do it that way, and it doesn't work. I never forgot, as long as I could live, when Colombo was telling
Thomas
about, he said he wanted his arms like pistons, right? And he wanted him constantly to be punching, like constantly like this. And Thomas couldn't do it. Like it always had him off balance. He was always in the wrong place. And we were like, what is happening? And somewhere between year 2 and year 3, Colombo's gone, and he figures it out, and he becomes the best player on the dang team, right?
Yeah.
Because somehow they worked with what he had.
Right. Yeah. Not trying to put a square peg in a round hole, see what what you're good at and work with it. I will say this. The one thing I'm hanging my hat on is Brasillo comes from Belichick and Scarnecchia. Scarnecchia, probably one of the best offensive line coaches ever. So if Scarnecchia can work with Brasillo and believed in him to work alongside of him and soak up all that knowledge that Scarnecchia was able to give, you got to think Brasillo is going to bring some of that over that he's learned, right? And that's what we need. The Giants need a teacher, and hopefully that's what they're getting.
And that really is the truth. Like sometimes, you see a guy and you can't figure out why he can't unlock his potential. And you just got to ask yourself, like, do they teach these guys anything? Because there is something to say that at the NFL level, you shouldn't be taught. You made it this far, right? Your technique should be able to roll over, but it doesn't always work that way, right? Like the game is different. So sometimes they need to change the way they play. Sometimes they don't. And then in the case of the Giants, Azudu doesn't look great. Neil looks terrible. And as we talked about before he got hurt, Phillips, left and went to the Eagles, was there for 3-4 weeks, learned how to play tackle, and came back here.
Mm-hmm.
So Brasillo will be a fresh, voice in the room. In a sadistic way, we know the Raiders weren't a great team. They traded away their quarterback. Their new quarterback in Garoppolo got hurt, right? So, in a sadistic type of way, I like the fact that they didn't win a bunch of games. Like he understands that we're losing. We need to come to work every day.
Gave up 35 sacks, I think, as an offensive line unit. Not bad for the Raiders.
Middle of the pack, if I understand correctly, right? Somewhere between 12 and 13, maybe 15 rated defense.
Probably right around there.
Rated line. Yeah. I'm encouraged about that move. Let me ask you this. The knock on Daboll is, and you've actually said it before too, is a lot of head coaches will bring in their own guys because they know their ins and outs. They know what they're about. They tolerate, each other. They know each other. Daboll continues to bring in guys that aren't his guys. Does that hurt him at all, Chris?
Well, I mean, remember when he was putting together a staff, I don't think it's easy for a first-time coach, to bring guys to come over unless, they're being elevated from their position. Like in Kafka, right, was a quarterbacks coach. He got elevated offensive coordinator. At the time, Wink had no problem coming here when he was let go. So, and obviously we saw where that went. But yeah, I don't know if it's a little different for that first-time head coach because they don't have those established staffs yet. This is their first staff, so maybe that has something to do with it. But I think Joe Schoen has a big say, obviously, in who he wants to bring over, too, because he was a player personnel guy coming back with Bean, with the Dolphins, and with the Bills. So tough to say. I think it could be a little bit of both.
Yeah, because, everything I've ever read was, it never really dawned on me why, but so head coaches, even when they're coordinators, right, and become coaches, they have personality traits, right? Those personality traits rub people wrong, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just curious, he hasn't brought any coaches in from Buffalo, right? He hasn't brought any coaches in from Miami.
Well, that could be a respect thing too, right? He doesn't want to poach guys unless they're being elevated. So to make a lateral move probably wouldn't be easy and maybe wouldn't sit well, as a do right thing. But let me throw two names at you. Jerome Henderson, by all accounts, one of the best defensive back coaches in the league. Andre Patterson, one of the best defensive line coaches in the league. Those guys could probably go to other places, but yet you don't hear anything coming out of their mouths. They're with the Giants. They're going to be here next year. So I think you take that in account too. They do have some good coaches that aren't looking to move.
Yeah, hands down. I think Daboll and Shane, of course, but I think Daboll has a good idea what kind of coaches he wants. And again, this team won a playoff game. We've got quarterback issues, regardless of how anybody wants to look at it. Love Jones, hate Jones. We got quarterback issues. We have offensive line issues. We're hoping Priscilla is the first, notch, so to speak, on turning, that around. And then, of course, the special teams coach. What are you hearing, Chris, on the defensive coordinator spot? Because there's a couple interesting characters, that are available. And then after last night's bloodletting from the Cowboys and the Eagles, there could be a whole bunch of other guys available. What are you hearing? What do you want? What do you want? What is your opinion?
Well, you're saying listen, Matt Patricia was, he's only been there for 5 games. He intrigues me a little bit. His name hasn't come up, but he hasn't had much to work with since he's been there in terms of establishing what he wants to do because these guys have transitioned from their old defensive coordinator. So I haven't heard anything about Patricia. But Anthony Caponelli, a lot of these guys are, linebacker coaches. Anthony Caponelli, Jersey guy, Rutgers, Don Bosco, in fact. Linebacker coach with the Dolphins, brings that Jersey, attitude. I don't know really much about him. He hasn't had an opportunity to be defensive coordinator. So I'm not sure if that's the way to go. Does Daboll feel like he wants to, have somebody fresh as a DC, or is he going to establish one? Because you haven't heard Frazier. Frazier's on the tour making some interviews as a head coach. Another guy, Denard Wilson, defensive back coach for the Dolphins as well. Also, is with the Ravens, used to be with the Dolphins. Derek Ansley was just interviewed. He's defensive coordinator with the Chargers. Don't really know too much about him. Chargers have had a pretty decent defense. Jerome Henderson, he's defensive back coach with the Giants. He was interviewed, for the position. Maybe that was a respect thing because he's, they give him an opportunity to go through the process. Leslie Frazier, right? Haven't heard his name been announced to come in for an interview yet. And then Shane Bowen, defensive coordinator for the Titans, now that Vrabel's gone. So out of everybody we're talking about, really only talking about 2 defensive coordinators currently, Ainsley with the Chargers and Bowen with the Titans. Everybody else seems to be, looking to move up in the chain and become a defensive coordinator. But I think you have to look at who, as long as they could, play Dex over the center. I mean, that's his strength, right? Playing that nose or even hitting the gaps, but you don't want to really mess around with that. So whether it's a hybrid, 4-3 or go the 3-4 they play now, I mean, it's all interchangeable, it seems like. But that's kind of where we're at, with those four guys. But
Well,
nobody really,
keep this in mind. They flat out do not have the personnel to run a 4-3.
I agree. Yep.
Like as much as like we pine away for the 80s defense, you know what I mean, with Taylor Banks, Carson, and whether you want to put in Gary Reasons, or you want to slide in Brian Kelly, or you want to slide in Pepper Johnson. Like, we just do not at any level have the personnel to run a 4-3. So it would be a miracle upon itself if the Giants could bring in the right personnel to run a 4-3. Mm-hmm. Don't think it's necessary, but I don't see that in the future. That would take yeoman's work.
My guess it's going to be Frazier if he doesn't get a head coaching job. He's doing his tour right now. But the guy that intrigues me is Denard Wilson, the defensive back coach with the Ravens. One of the best secondaries, and I just like, we all like how the Ravens run their defense. Obviously, Wink came from there, but very similar to what the Giants currently run is what Wilson would probably do with the Giants without changing too many things.
Yeah, we give a shout out. Shawnee B's all over Wilson here. It's in the comments.
Oh, there we go. I didn't even see that. Awesome.
Yeah. So now I gotta, Shawnee, I gotta get you on the other side, dude. This cannot happen at any level. Which I love your Wilson comment, but this one, absolutely not. Where do I find it? All right. You may have looked into Dorsey's numbers, Johnny B, but the Buffalo Bills were dead in the water. They were like the biggest disappointment in the NFL. They fired Dorsey on November 14th, and they literally rocketed it to scoring 30 points a game as soon as they got rid of him. There's no shot. I love the Wilson, but if the Giants bring in Dorsey, which if Kafka, because Kafka's staying unless he gets a head coaching job, which is going to be a mistake, for any team. But if that happens, you do not want Dorsey. He doesn't allow downfield throwing. Josh Allen could not win a game. They were literally the biggest disappointment in the NFL because Dorsey does not go downfield. As soon as they got rid of Dorsey, Allen's stats spiked. They won 5 straight games, and they're averaging 28 to 30 points a game. I just don't think Dorsey's the guy.
Let me ask you, Craig, because it's a Daboll system, though. I feel like it's more the play calling than anything. It may not be the actual scheme itself and the actual plays itself, but I feel like it's the play calling. I mean, that seems to be what a lot of
Sean's actually saying the three highest scoring games were under Dorsey. No, I get it, but when you think the minute they got rid of him, they just went on a tear. So I'm not saying they can't produce with Dorsey or Dorsey can't call Daboll's plays, Chris. Mm-hmm. I am just looking at a playoff caliber team. Went right down the tubes this year, and the minute they got rid of Dorsey, that team took off. So the team was not responding to what Dorsey was calling. We can't go through that again.
No.
Yeah, and you're right, Mark Thompson. They did because when Dorsey, I'll put this one up around here because it's a great point too. As soon as Dorsey, left, they started using Cook, they started, start running the ball. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't as far as Mark says, just, you run the ball more to eliminate any mistakes. It's just a balanced offense. I don't know if you could just pinpoint it to one guy. That's basically saying that, Allen basically was the reason, they were losing. It's a team game. I can't go that far, Mark, but you are right that when the quarterback coach got moved up for the job, I'm drawing a blank on his name. When he got the job, they started running the ball and balancing the offense. It wasn't the Diggs Allen show. So, but great point. They did have a more balanced offense. All right. So offensive line coach is in the building. We're working on defensive coordinator, some good. Now, the only one you didn't really bring up and discuss at length was Pierce.
Oh, I Antonio Pierce, I think, is going to get a job somewhere. I mean, he's gone on a few interviews. So, I mean, I guess I haven't seen a connection with Antonio Pierce with the Giants. I haven't heard his name even other than the fans.
Yeah, the fans are definitely calling for that. And again, that kind of comes back to what I said before about the former players, even Blackburn. Like,
right.
they just Giants, they're not great at bringing back their own.
You know, we look at Mara, but what's the connection with Daboll and Schoen and some of the the guys that Schoen? I mean, is there a connection there? I mean, we look at the Giants organization. Yeah, there's a connection. But if Mara's true to his word, staying out of things, what's the connection with Schoen with Pierce? I don't know if there is. I don't know if there's. We love the.
Yeah. But remember, though,
Shane's
not hiring any guys he has connections with. None of these coaches really have connections with him, right? So if you're doing best player available, then you're doing best coach available, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Oh no, go ahead.
BCA, best coach available. I think Pierce deserves. First of all, I thought he deserves the Raiders job.
Yeah. And he also interviewed for another team. I forget which one. So what I think may be happening is letting these guys that are interviewing for their head coaching positions, if they don't land one, then you have the DC position to fall back on, and maybe that's when Pierce's name comes up. But at that time, are we looking a month down the road when the Giants want to fill this spot before some of these coaches get by these new staffs that are going to be put into play?
Too close to the draft.
Right. Yeah. Even the combine. Well, not the combine. The Senior Bowl. Senior Bowl's in a couple weeks. You want to have a defensive coordinator, hopefully on board by then to attend the Senior Bowl.
Or the other way around, a head coach.
Right. That too. Sure.
The Titans and the Raiders, and I don't know if McCarthy's going anywhere. I don't know if Sirianni's going anywhere.
Right.
But the Titans and the Raiders, they're going to need to lock a coach down this week.
Yeah.
Or the latest, the middle of next week, because, like you said, Senior Bowl, Combine, that stuff, like when you get behind on that stuff, you get behind on that. And I don't know if they're going to hire. Like, Vrabel's going to get a job somewhere. That's because that was just a stupid move. That guy's a great coach. I don't know why Vrabel didn't get the opportunity with the Patriots. Doesn't make any sense. I pinged my buddy, in New England, and he was like, he feels bad for
Vrabel?
No, the linebacker Mayo.
Mayo. Oh yeah.
Like, if you're kind of bad for him because he's got to step in Bill Belichick's shoes. I mean, like, the guy was a linebacker coach. He wasn't even a coordinator. Like, it's just the job is big, right? So, Vrabel should have been Kraft's first call. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense why he wasn't. But Vrabel's going to get a job. We hope Pierce gets a job. The Mayo, Mark says the Patriots had already committed to Mayo. Not before Vrabel got fired. But either way, Vrabel's going to get a job.
Yeah, Shawnee B's right. They had something in writing. I believe I heard that last week.
Yeah,
where if Belichick, when his time was up, Mayo was to get the job.
Correct.
So.
It just was that I guess Belichick didn't feel that it would be this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was loosely worded in his contract that Mayo would get the job, but I'm sure, like anything legality wise, I'm sure they could, look into that because he might not be ready for the job.
Yeah,
because the way the information came when I watched, I don't know if it was Rich Eisen or not. They were saying that Belichick had no idea it would be 2024. So the time that 2025 came around, Mayo would have so much more experience, and that would have been a good transition point, not this year. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
Well,
I
Mac
don't
Jones
know.
ruined that. Mac
Yeah.
Jones ruined that. Defense played well. I'll tell you, talk about Vrabel. He worries me going to Philadelphia if Sirianni gets axed, because I think that would be a great fit. That's exactly the type of coach the Eagles would need. I don't know. I
Vrabel?
think, yeah, I think Vrabel. I don't want him in the NFC East with any of those teams.
Well, the other thing is like Quinn. I know Dallas just. I don't know what happened to that defense. Lawrence Taylor Light didn't show up and play. I don't know, but Dan Quinn is a bad dude. Like his defenses are great. I think Dan Quinn will probably, have an opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, if McCarthy goes, a couple
And
of these guys are talking.
he's already interviewing. I believe it's Panthers, Seahawks, so he's on the tour himself. So who knows? He might land something, before McCarthy.
Cold. That was just Cold. He ain't ALC. I know Cold. That was my attempt at sarcasm.
Yeah.
Um,
He's MP.
Yeah. So if you think about it, Chris.
Yeah.
You've got Vrabel, you got Belichick, you got Quinn, you've got
Harbaugh. Harbaugh is not going back to Michigan. It doesn't seem that way.
Yep, you got Harbaugh. You potentially have I think he's going to retire, but you got Pete Carroll. And it sounds like they're going to move Pete Carroll into the front office, is what it sounded like.
Well, to contradict that, he actually came out and said he has more energy than ever, and it's not about him being slowed down. He's not ready to lay on a couch. That was his word. So yeah. I think there's mixed messages making nice with Seattle, their front office, and Pete Carroll has a totally different idea of what he'd like to do. And you know what? Maybe this phases out Antonio Pierce, to your question. With all these coaches, that may do, Antonio Pierce do him in not getting a job because there's so many guys out there.
I mean, out of all of them right now, Vrabel seems the most, valuable for a job because the guy won games and everybody likes him. I mean, he does a good job. Pete and Bill are older. I don't know if teams want to go there. I mean, I know Belichick interviewed with Atlanta.
Which was weird.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah.
I thought that too.
Well, you know what? Arthur Blank doesn't meddle. He'll let you do whatever he wants. Maybe he steps in and has a lot of player personnel control. And with Bill, that's what he wants to do. He's used to that with New England, calling the shots with the draft, player personnel. Even though he's older, maybe doesn't want to give that up.
I can't see him going to a team with no quarterback that plays in a dome. I just can't see it. You know what I mean? Like, can I see him going to San Diego? Probably, because he could have a boat down there, right? Not San Diego, L.A. But that doesn't, but it doesn't also fit in the Belichick mode, right? Giants, the Browns, New England, I don't know if he's a West Coast guy. I don't know if, but there are some really good coaching candidates out there. I mean, Seattle's a pretty cool place to coach and live. And so is Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Those are cool towns, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Patriots just doing the whole Mayo thing and letting that happen is going to be a disaster. I don't even know why they did that. All right. So, and then I'm assuming whoever the defensive coordinator is, and he may be able to, you're going to need a linebacker coach too. So they're going to, unless they promote somebody, but let's talk about the running back coach. Definitely I am a fan here because of one specific reason. Giants hire a running backs coach who comes from New Orleans. I love the fact that it's Alvin Kamara's only coach. He's had Alvin Kamara since he's been in the league. We know how great Alvin Kamara is. So I love the fact that this guy has brought stability to what Kamara brings to the table. I want Barkley back. I think that he'd be great for Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on the running back coach?
Other than he's been there 8 years, Joel Thomas. I think stability. Yep. The fact that he's been through the Sean Payton regime, And now with the new regime, and they kept him. I think that says a lot that he stuck around for Peyton and the new coaching staff. So yeah, I like it. Now Saints just cleared house. They got rid of Carmichael, Teddy, offensive coordinator, so they were letting guys interview. So he probably said, you know what, maybe I should get some stability because they're going to bring whoever's coming in, going to bring their guys too. So no, I like it. I like the stability, and if Alvin Kamara speaks highly of him, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, like I said, we know how good Kamara is, so he must be helping him do something right. You know what I mean? Because, if you're around in an NFL, if you're around and you have a position for 7-8 years, you're doing something right.
Yeah. And Shawnee Bay makes a good if he can coach for Sean Payton, he's got to know his stuff and be pretty good coach.
All right. Let's talk about Daboll?
Sure.
Let's talk about Daboll. Boop, Daboll under criticism. All right. I'm going to rant a little bit here because I can't stomach like all this bullshit about when. You know what I mean? Like look, believe in the head coach. Let's stop second guessing the head coach. Like how did we get from we can't find a head coach? McAdoo, Shermer, Judge. We finally get a head coach. We finally go to the playoffs. We finally win. We have a guy who's no nonsense, wants to win, wants to hold people accountable. And because he yells on the sideline, because he's sarcastic, because it gets heated on the sideline, it's just, it's embarrassing that we're offended by our head coach. Believe in the head coach. And by the way, I got to, again, give Art Stapleton all the credit. It's like, why do you think people like Wink? Because he says the right thing on the podium. He makes one, you know how he is. He's very stoic. He makes a couple dry jokes and people laugh. And they're like, and he gives them something, right? Here, he gives the writers something, right? Daboll gives you nothing because he's the head coach. He's not going to give you anything. But the players play for him. Look how they played, Chris, over the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care. Wink had the same problem. We talked about it. In case you guys haven't checked the interview out, we had Jordan Renan from ESPN on last week. Great interview. We dive into it. We get really knee-deep in all that stuff. Yeah, we put this up here from Mark Thompson. I do tune in to Leonard's show, but he thinks news can only be negative. 100%.
Yeah, that's Pat Leonard. Yeah.
Just forget Leonard, man. Like, just forget him. Like, all he wants to do is, like, be a wedge. We need positivity, and we need realism. Like, if the head coach of the New York Giants isn't happy with his defensive coordinator, he should be able to tell him. And he should be able to do anything he wants. So what? He goes on tirades. How many people have been going on tirades and showing emotion since Vince Lombardi? Okay? Plenty of water coolers have been spilled, tablets thrown. I mean, it just happens, Chris.
Hey, before Bill Parcells was Bill Parcells, we saw it with Sims. We saw it on the sidelines, even with LT. We didn't have the social media. There was, not as many beat writers as there are now. Different world where everything just gets magnified.
Coughlin? And we saw Coughlin. He would get in your ass.
Yeah. And it wasn't even as bad then as it is now with all the social,
And in fact, if you look at Coughlin was too hard on the players, and then he mellowed out to some degree, and the players fell right in line and played for Coughlin, won a Super Bowl. If the coaches don't like what's like held being accountable, then don't play. Then don't coach here. I mean, like, this is the guy. He's the boss, and he coached himself to Coach of the Year. The Coach of the Year is saying that the guy who quit Baltimore for the same reason is the problem. It's probably a problem. Chris, I did the research. The Giants lost 6 games by 30 points or more, 2 games by 40 points or more. Give me a break.
They were still 30th ranked defense. Even though there's been some good games and there's been some bad games, and I think
Yeah,
that Dallas game just set the tone for a lot of these, for a lot of that stuff that was going on behind the scenes, and also the
yeah.
Jets game
So
too.
okay, there's criticism.
Yeah,
Big deal. Big deal.
you
There's going to be emotion.
you said it though. With Wink, he comes from Harbaugh being there a number of years, and he was let go. There was mutual. A similar explanation in Baltimore. If you look back at the clippings, they agreed to part ways. And it's same thing we read last week. When you look at the human factor of this, I'm just throwing this out there. Wink is 60 years old. He's been on the interview circuit to be a head coach. Even when Judge got the job, he had come in to interview for the head coaching job of the Giants. Didn't get it, although they liked him. But the fact that he hasn't had an opportunity, do you think there's a little bit of that resentment that some of these younger guys get jobs and he's been passed over? And I'm sure he treats the team like it's his own, and maybe that's part of the problem. His defensive unit, it's still Daboll's team, but maybe he treats it like it's his team too, like it's 50-50. I don't know.
Great segue, and this is why Shawnee B is going to be being a part of Rush because of this. And Sean, 100% kudos to you for this. The NFL PA Players Association ranked the Giants 8th best place to work. And the biggest reasons were Daboll's treatment with the players and the training staff. And everyone else can go stick it. Because I'm just so tired of hearing about second-guessing him on this, second-guessing him on that. No one second-guessed Coughlin. And no, we didn't win a Super Bowl yet. But in year one, they went to the playoffs and won. He won Coach of the Year, which means, look, same thing. Bill Belichick won Executive of the Year in 2021. 2 years later, they're asking him to go. You know what I'm saying? So the reality is that probably Wink doesn't like Daboll's shenanigans, but that's how he is on game day. He's a loose cannon on game day, but it's okay. Like it worked last year. This year is this year, and this year looks the way it does because the quarterback sucks and the offensive line still sucks. And because guess what, Chris? You can't fix a team in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have to believe in Daboll. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, who thought they were going to win 6 games after what we saw before they started putting a couple of these together? But I thought 2 wins, that was going to be it when we saw the writing on the wall. It was amazing they won another 4 games.
Yeah, 100%. Pat Leonard wants clout. He's going to chase a bunch of clout.
Yep.
So I'm sure the linebacker coaches or his camp leaked that information.
That's the word.
Yeah, but guess what? Listen, I'm not even you know me. I'm not an Xavier McKinney guy because of the amount of money that he wants.
Mm-hmm.
I like Xavier McKinney's play when he wants to play. He's a hot and cold player, right? One good year, one bad year, one good year. I don't like his decision making. I thought because he had a lot of value, he could be traded, right? But I'm not taking anything away if the player has an enormous amount of ability. And he's going to want a lot of money. But the record behind McKinney says that if Wink stayed the defensive coordinator, McKinney probably would have pursued leaving the team even harder. Now he's kind of like thinking, okay, maybe I'll stay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I know it's about money.
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody. Look, you're never going to find out if Kayvon Thibodeau loves him. But I'm sure Kayvon Thibodeau does not want to drop in pass coverage.
No.
He's not Carl Banks. Carl Banks is a unique player. Carl Banks played the run, was great in pass coverage, and can rush the quarterback if you asked him to. Opposite of LT, where LT was the opposite, right? If you put him in pass coverage, he'll do a pretty dang good job. But rushing the passer and playing the run is what he did first and foremost. Mm-hmm. We have no idea if Kayvon Thibodeau would grow even further if they just used him as a run stopper and a pass rusher. So we don't know if what the players think of Dave's, but about Wink. But we're starting to see that maybe the players are more in Daboll's camp than they are Wink's.
Yeah. The one thing you see about Daboll is, he breaks guys down. It seems like, he'll get in your face, but he also, he shows the love and, and that personality towards his guys. So I think it's a little bit of both. He's got both ends. He could be a hard ass, but then he also could be that guy, that you like. And I think it's, he kind of goes both ways, which I think is fine. But I think one of the things I read, and who knows if it's true, is that he doesn't take any accountability. And I think that was one of the big things that was out there, whether it's true or not, that he points fingers, but he doesn't like to put it on himself. So who knows?
Are you talking about Daboll or are you talking about
Daboll. I'm talking about Daboll. That seems to be what. Now, once again, that comes from Leonard, who take it for a grain of salt. I don't know if that's, who knows if that's true. But it does make you wonder if that could be the case.
I'm sure,
I don't know.
I'm sure that there's some truth to it.
Sure. You
the guy won Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I won Coach of the Year.
The team started off terrible. The quarterback couldn't, like all these things happened. Mm-hmm. And you're right. Maybe he could sit there and go, like Andy Reid used to say every game, it's my fault.
Yeah.
That's on me. Even though we knew it was Donovan McNabb, he'd go, that's my fault. I'll take the blame for that. Maybe Daboll's not that kind of guy. Maybe he will become that guy.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's been instances where Daboll could point the fingers at a press conference right after a game, and he's never done that. So I give him credit for that. He could have easily thrown guys under the bus, whether it was Wink in the Jets game, Cowboys game, players. Never done it. So I give him credit for that. He hasn't taken that road either of throwing names around.
Yeah, and Cold is got a point here, and I think Mark said it earlier. I'll put both of these up back to back. Wink with the old, this is a destination, right? New York, it's best place, city to be. And then Cole's like, seems like he talks out of both sides of his mouth. I mean, seriously. I mean, all he does is rave about New York, and he's the first one out of here because he got in a disagreement with the coach, or the coach held him accountable. Like, dude, like you needed to win some of these games. You needed to do something. The defensive game plan against the Eagles the last game of the year was the first time we saw that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were blitzing nonstop. They were covering the middle of the field. They were like, I'm not going to cry for Wink. I like Wink, but I'm not going to cry for Wink.
Greg, when the games are great, he's the best. Like, wow, what a defensive game plan they play. But then when they're bad, they're really the other way too. So it's almost like it's nothing in the middle. It's either terrible or, oh my, got to keep Wink. He did what a great job. The pendulum swings both ways very, very quickly with Wink.
Yeah, and again, like I would be very comfortable if Wink stayed, right? But I don't know. Maybe his philosophy doesn't work with the younger players. I don't know.
We could do better. I mean, 29th ranked defense, 30th ranked defense. I think the Giants can do better. It's not that big of a loss. The personality, we loved it before all this crap came out. We loved the Wink person as the person. He was a guy's guy you could have a beer with. But when you look at it, the big picture, hey, they were 29th, 30th. Brad said it before, 600 yards against the Cowboys, embarrassed on the road.
Oh, I told you.
Could have done a lot. Could have done better.
Six games, they they gave up 30 points or more. 2 games, 40 points or more. You can't expect that in 6 games you're giving up 30 to 40 points a game.
No.
It doesn't make any sense. So like I said, I'm not going to cry, sit around here crying for Wink, because here's the thing. How many games did they win?
They won 6.
Okay. 6 games. How many games did they win last year?
Win 9, right? 9 was 9 and 8?
9 games. So think about this. If you had literally, and I mean this like sincerely, they were the 30th ranked defense?
30th, 29th, somewhere right there. Yeah.
Can you imagine if we had the 20th ranked defense? Middle of the pack. Not even, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You probably have 8 wins.
You look at the Jet and Buffalo game. Those 2 games. And obviously you can say, oh, you look at the Cardinal game, you should have lost that one. Well, you didn't. But yeah, there's games there that should have been won.
Like, listen, we both know, and everybody in the room knows, and you guys are all like,
9-7-1, right, Mark? Yep.
Yeah.
Tie.
Right?
We had a tie.
Yeah, the tie. Yeah, we're counting that as a win, Mark.
I was. Got it in.
Like, it's all good. Like, I understand. We all understand. We all understand that there's an offensive problem. Like the bigger picture is we don't have offensive talent, right? We all agree. Everybody agrees that the bigger picture is this year they have to fix the offense. They thought they were fixing the offense with Wandale, Paris Campbell, Waller. They thought they were fixing it, and they didn't. They struck out. Not that they struck out, but they didn't hit the home run they thought they did. They hit like maybe a single, and they stretched that into a double for you baseball guys, right? The defense, all they needed to do was play a little bit better, and we're talking about a 7-8 win team, right? I mean, literally, Jet game, Buffalo game. Like,
I hear you, Craig, but when they score 14 points a game and the offense gives up 85 sacks, I mean, we thought more of Glowinski, right? Glowinski, big disappointment. Schmidt started out decent, started to go downhill. Evan Neal, we thought, man, he's going to be on that Andrew Thomas, Rocky Road, first year, second year, make that jump. Never happened. Obviously, the injuries, have to bring Pugh in off the street, who just is, has the attitude, but just doesn't have the strength or the power.
Too slow.
Yeah,
they tried to pull him 2-3 times a game, and he
can't do it, man. If you could put his, his brains and his, attitude in somebody else nasty, you'd be all right. But yeah, I think the offensive line, man, we keep talking about it, all the time. But God, man, it's the biggest glaring hole.
Yeah, and again, so we move over to the offensive side.
Yeah,
it is what it is, right? Do you want Kafka to stay or do you want Kafka to go?
Man, you got to say who you're bringing in. So, you know what? I hate to disrupt things, but you're changing a defensive coordinator. I don't mind Kafka staying as long as Daboll, and we never get the answer because we'll never know. Daboll has a bigger role with the play calling, and I don't know if Kafka goes for that or what, but it just felt like even the Eagle game. You could say Kafka was calling the plays. I don't believe it. It just seemed different. When things seem different, it's Daboll. It's just not the same. I don't understand. It's just so different. Obvious to me. It's just not. It stands out.
It literally stands out.
Right?
You're like, this ain't the same team.
It's not Kafka. It can't be Kafka.
It's so funny because you watch it, you get in about 12 minutes, and you're going,
right.
Hey, whose team is this?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like we brought in 4 new offensive linemen, left Thomas with 4 new guys. It was the same group, but it just, and I know the Eagles sucked at the end there too, but it just seemed different. It's just the way the play calling was. It just seemed different. More shots downfield.
Yeah, I mean, here's I probably put more stock into it than a lot of people do. I don't.
Well, what do you think?
Well, I mean, here's my problem. Yeah. My problem is this, and you know what? And it comes back to I don't know. And this is gonna make me sound like an ass, but whether you're in a locker room or you're not in a locker room, or if you play these games, if you play or you don't play, because if you change all these players and you change all these coordinators, you can't expect to be good the next year. If you don't have continuity at some level, I don't think you Okay, here's what should have happened. They should have got rid. If they were going to get rid of Kafka, like Dorsey went, they should have got rid of Kafka middle of the year, promote the quarterback coach, and see how they do. But they lost the quarterback at the same time, so you lose your quarterback, and now you got 2 guys, and the offense coordinator goes in the tank because he doesn't have his quarterback. So we got 2 backup quarterbacks, and he doesn't know what to do with them, and we can't score any freaking points. We couldn't really score any points with our quarterback. So now with the backup guys, we're not scoring quarterbacks Tyrod doesn't care. He's throwing the ball all around a lot, and he looks good. And all of a sudden, the light bulb goes off that, wow, when we don't give a shit, we can actually win, right? Because we're being aggressive. So if you get rid of your coordinator and your linebacker coaches,
it's a lot,
and your special teams coach, and all your special teams players, which Brown and Carter Coughlin, and it's too much change. It's too much change to recover. So
it's cloudy.
Sadly, I think Kafka's got to stay. You can't expect, and I don't care. I appreciate everybody's opinion. I just don't think you turn, you turn the whole thing over and you expect the same results. You're not going to win 7, 8, 9 games if everything is got to be learned all over again. And I don't want Kafka. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't want Kafka. I
Too
just
much.
don't want any more change. It doesn't help the team when everything has to be redone. Now
I agree.
Daboll's work. Now you're all over Daboll because he's running the defense, he's running the offense, he's running the special teams. Like, there's got to be some continuity somewhere.
Hey, you like Kafka last year after they beat the Vikings and gotten into the playoffs? I know sometimes it was conservative, but we were all worried that Kafka would land a coordinator job somewhere, or a head coaching job somewhere. Yeah. So it just went the other way, but I think there's so many factors that were in play. The offensive line, injuries, it derailed the whole offensive scheme because by all accounts, from training camp you heard, and we were there, that they were doing things in training camp that everybody loved, and they weren't able to do that come game day because of the situation. So, I mean, I feel like Kafka's not going to get a head coaching job this year, but they're going to run it back with him. And you need continuity at some point.
Yep, and the other thing is this. I think the Giants need to draft a quarterback, right? And the thing is, this is not a I hate Jones thing. It's not a I love Jones thing. It's that we're not going to get any better unless we have consistently good quarterback play, and he's not reliable. Now, again, the injuries definitely, are connected to the beating he takes and the sacks he takes and how he has to run and rush. And the injuries come from getting banged around.
Yeah.
Right? Concussion, neck injury, in the ACL.
He's one more neck injury away. And Craig, going back to Kafka, remember, he was with Andy Reid with Philadelphia as a quarterback and also there helping him out. And then he went to Kansas City. So you got to think Kafka wants to do the things that Andy Reid does, meshing with the Daboll system. And we just want to see that if that's the case, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I'm thinking too, it's going to be really hard to run it back with Jones, right?
Yeah. He's one injury away with the neck.
And that's why I said the same thing about Penix. I think Penix is the most pro-ready. I know he had a bad championship game, and he did. But you can't have two injury-prone quarterbacks on your roster. I think May is the guy, and you have to sacrifice your draft picks to go get him. I think that that you could get Penix and McCarthy late first, maybe trade out and then trade back in, right? At the end of the first, early second, and get Penix or get McCarthy. They need a new quarterback, and you can't have a new coordinator too. There's got to be some stability for the quarterback. If you bring in a young quarterback, you're depending on Jones to groom him, and Jones wants to fight for the starting spot. For coming off an ACL. I just think you need some continuity on the offense side, and I really don't want Kafka to go. He should have been relieved of his duties in the middle of the year, and the quarterback coach could have came in and, earned his stripes. But I don't think you could draft a QB if you get rid of Kafka.
You don't?
I don't.
Yeah.
You're starting all over again. I mean, new quarterback, new coordinator, new running back coach. It's too new. It doesn't work. It takes too long.
Well, I think it goes back to with Kafka, and he's had, we think that Daboll had more of a say, but it gets so cloudy because what are they able to do? What couldn't they do? And although, the Eagle game was great, you feel like Daboll was calling plays. I would just like to see, kind of like Jones, Kafka with everybody healthy. I want to see with a good offensive line, people healthy. Now show me what you can do.
But it's 6 years later.
I know.
I
With
don't
6 years
know.
with no, I'm not talking about Jones so much. I'm saying with Kafka. Waller. I think Brad made a good point. Waller with his injuries, but you want to see him to play that Kelsey role. What he could have done, like if he was with Kansas City. You want to see Kafka do those types of things and make him a focal point. And he's going to get his chance because I don't think Kafka's getting a head coaching job unless he just resigns and just leaves. But I think he's coming back, and you got to think that Daboll will be more integrated in the offense with Kafka. Who knows how much he even is? I'm sure it's a lot, but be more so than it was last year. I'm sure.
And as I mentioned, I don't want Kafka to come back, but now because of the potential of the quarterback, a lot of guys are saying that hey,
yeah,
you can't run it back with Jones, and you really can't, even though he's going to be on the roster and he's going to compete. Draft a guy to compete with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know who that guy is. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's May, and I actually think the New York Giants should sacrifice, whatever they got to get up and go get May.
Well, the good part is Jones will be ready, hopefully, and he'll have a year because you got that salary cap hit of $47 million. So whoever they bring in is going to have like a Jordan Love scenario where you can let him sit the whole year unless he, Jones gets hurt or he's terrible, and you bring him in halfway through. But he'll have an opportunity to really soak everything up and take the time getting in there because Jones will be back for at least a year, I think.
You guys in the chat still talking about Wan'Dale Robinson.
60 catches, Craig. He had a damn good year.
Nobody. I need one person to remember what I'm saying. I said that the guy was not a second-round pick. I didn't say he sucked. I said he's small and he's a second-round pick. And if he gets hurt, he won't be around and it'll be a wasted second-round pick. And what happened? He got hurt, right? Now it's water under the bridge because he's earning every ounce of playing time he gets.
And you got to like one. He breaks tackles too, because he used to be a running back.
Oh yeah. He's shifty. Like he's the
tough.
Focal point of the offense because they need him number one. They need a guy to go downfield. But as much as you guys want to push, Darius Slayton out of the room, it's just not appropriate. He's a good player. You know what I mean? But he's not a number one either, right?
Yeah.
But the guy is done. Literally, when you look, like the guy cut his drops down to two drops this year. He was averaging 4 a year. He had like 2, 3, 6, 7 down to 2. I don't know why, if it's a focus issue or not, but Slayton has a role. Hodgins has a role as an end zone guy, or when you're desperate. Wan'Dale is definitely a true, gem at the slot.
Yeah.
Because he gets open and he breaks tackles. He definitely doesn't look as fast as he used to be, but it doesn't matter. He's very shifty. He's got great hands. But you do need a number one. So then it would be your number one receiver, and then Wan'Dale, and then Slayton and Hodgins, and then Hyatt's got to catch the ball. Hyatt drops a lot of balls. Like, you guys are killing Slayton for dropping balls. Hyatt drops a ton of balls too. I think receiver isn't as important as a play right now as the O-line and the quarterback is.
Yeah. And I think Hyatt, he just needs to get a little stronger. I think getting off press coverage, press man is just a little, it's been tough for him at the NFL level. But I think if he can, get better at that, I think you're looking at definitely a solid 2 with Hyatt.
Yeah. The question is that we got a lot of 2s, right? Got a lot of 2s, right? So.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you rather have a number 1 and a bunch of 3s and 4s, or would you rather have a bunch of solid 2s?
A number 1 and a bunch of 3s and 4s.
Okay.
Because the number 1, and I don't know if it was I can't remember who I was having this conversation with, but the number 1 does things that the other guys cannot do. For one is he demands the defense's number 1 corner, right? The number 1 corner, he's on him, and a lot of times they have to bracket him with a safety.
Yeah, they'll take him away. Right. Yeah.
Right. So that opens somebody else up when he's double. Second thing is he just flat out has separation speed.
Yeah, no, they need one.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just he throw the ball down the field, he is in second gear and he goes and gets it. But the number 1 also goes very uncovered or it's not really spoke about very often is he can run 2 and 3 move routes, but it's the speed he runs them at. A real number one knows to run 30%, 60% full speed. They know how to get in and out of breaks and at what speed, right? Like they don't. I mean, listen, Hyatt ran short of the sticks 2 times back.
I know,
to back.
frustrating. Yeah,
like you, that's not a number one. These guys, the true number ones, your Lamb, you know, your
AJ Brown, Eagles.
your AJ Brown
last night.
Yeah, you know,
big difference.
These guys don't run short of the sticks. They just don't run short of the sticks.
Yeah,
they know what needs to be done, and they go get it done.
Craig, let me ask you this, and in your opinion, do you consider Devontae Smith a 1 or a 2 with the Eagles?
He's a 2 when AJ Brown's on the field.
Right, but let's say AJ Brown's out of the picture. If you had Devontae Smith, I would say even on the Giants, because obviously he'd be a number 1. Do you view him by himself as a 1 in that category? Is what I'm saying.
It pains me to say it, but I do.
Isn't that amazing? Because I do too. And you have an AJ Brown, a Devontae Smith, a Goddard. I mean, that Eagles offense without AJ Brown, Goddard gets banged up. They become
pedestrian.
Average. Yes, pedestrian, right? So look at that Eagle team when AJ Brown's on in that lineup and Goddard's banged up, and you just got Smith with nobody else really.
Before they had AJ Brown, Hurts couldn't hit the side of a barn with a bazooka. Okay, when AJ Brown gives him this enormous catching radius, all he needs to do is throw it anywhere near AJ Brown, back shoulder, front shoulder, off his shoelaces, above his head. He catches everything.
He's like a faster Plaxico.
He's a faster Plaxico. He's got a young Julio Jones in him. He's got if you want to go back in the day, he's got some Keyshawn Johnson in him. Like
that's the guy.
He's open all the time. And he catches everything. And when he's not open, he still catches it. Right? The catching radius. So Devontae is like that guy that just he's not very opposing. So I don't know if guys just give him a cushion, give him a break. This guy's, but he runs these unbelievable routes and he makes sure that he finds space and he sits down. Yeah. So he could be a number 1 on most teams in the NFL.
Yeah. But amazing, right? When you take that one equation, that AJ Brown out of that lineup, how they come back to earth quite a bit.
Yeah. Again, because AJ Hurts is not an accurate passer. He could throw lights out down the ball. He's got a great cannon for down the field. But when you need him to throw in between the corner, in front of the safety or over top of the corner, he can't do it.
Right.
But when he does it, AJ Brown's dragging a toe.
I know.
It literally changed that team. 3 years ago, if you remember, the Giants beat Philadelphia 3 years ago. They got AJ Brown. They haven't beat him since. And then AJ Brown goes out. Giants win. Yeah.
I'll tell you, and last thing on my end, when you look at Devontae Smith, I picture him in a Giants uniform because when the Eagles jumped to Dallas with the trade and then we took Tony, it was like he should have been a Giant. The Giants were going for him. That was their guy. Of course, we got leapfrogged, and that's what happened, but he should have been a Giant. And when he got picked, he didn't look happy. Do you remember at draft night when he got picked? He wasn't that excited. I think he thought he was going to the Giants at the time.
I do, and he just gets open. He just gets open.
Yeah.
Again, like I always say, he needs a steak, but he just gets open.
He does. He does.
And AJ Brown.
He does get open.
Sorry if I said AJ Smith. AJ Brown just literally made the difference for Hurts. Like Hurts was always a super athletic guy, but he wasn't a very accurate guy. He just needed that receiver that had this huge catching radius. And that's he actually has a lot of TO in him too. AJ Brown, right? Just so, but yeah, I mean, but if Devontae was a number 1, I don't know if he could live being a number 1. The amount of banging around he's going to get.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think if he was your true number 1 without anybody else, they'll just get up in his face and press him and just reroute him because he's obviously a small guy. But yeah, I love he catches everything. Good route runner.
Yeah, so I'm kind of leaning a couple. I'm kind of leaning on Kafka. Coming back.
Well, it's probably going to
You
happen.
know, yeah. Yeah, and Kafka and Daboll need, they'll have a conversation about like, hey, look, I'm going to yell and scream at you, and I'm going to take play calling away from you, and you want the job or you don't, kind of thing. I mean, I would have to think they're friendly enough at this point to kind of get that they know each other good enough.
Kafka's used to Andy Reid for all those years. Reid doesn't show anything on the sideline. He stands stoic. You know what I mean? It's a big change for Kafka to be with Daboll. He used to be with Andy Reid, who kind of just doesn't really show much, getting angry and getting nuts with his coaches.
Cold. AJ Hurts is a combination of Hurts and AJ Brown because they can't coexist without each other.
That's funny.
It'd be interesting to see too what happens with the Cowboys if McCarthy does go, because again, guys like Dan Quinn could easily get a job. And I haven't looked at the free agent list for Dallas, but again, when very good teams go out early, it really, really changes the face of what the NFL is going to look like the next year. Think about it. If the Eagles coach and the Dallas Cowboys coach, if they get fired and those coaches change, right? All the teams that suck now get their coaches as their new coaches. Right. It definitely makes teams better, right? Like the Browns got better, right? Seattle got better. I mean, geez, the Texans are just out of this world better.
What a job by DeMeco Ryans.
Yeah, that's an ex-Eagles linebacker too.
Yeah, great linebacker. Yeah.
Just it's good. I mean, and in Stroud, who the hell knew he was that good? I mean, he looks like he's been doing it his whole life. So I think the Giants need to go get May and just be done with it. Eat crow, whatever you got to do, offer it up and go get it. Howie Roseman will do it if he has to. And then, again, might be, then it's got to be a bunch of linemen or it's got to be a trade or something. Yeah. But,
well, the combine will be fun to hear about the quarterbacks because their stock goes up, crazy. Guys that you didn't know would think would rise. And, it's all those, it's a lot of false bravado. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors there, is what I'm saying, at the combine. So it'll be fun to hear everything coming out of there.
Let's put a bow on this with Senior Bowl. There's been a couple of the quarterbacks that are going to play in the Senior Bowl. Is there anyone that you want to see play in the Senior Bowl? I know I saw a list came out. I can look it up what the list is. Is there anyone that you want to see in the Senior Bowl?
Well, the Senior Bowl, I believe, is allowing juniors now this year, which is going to be interesting.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, they changed that. So the Senior Bowl is no longer just the Senior Bowl. It's anybody eligible for the draft. Well, I believe it's just juniors. Well, obviously juniors. But did Penix say he's going to go to the Senior Bowl?
I didn't see his name. I'm going to look up the list right now.
I wouldn't mind. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Penix against, a bunch of NFL potential draftees.
All right, so schools, are these all QBs? No, positions. All right, so the quarterbacks. All right, here's the quarterbacks that have accepted an invitation to the Senior Bowl. Joe Milton from Tennessee. Spencer Rattler from South Carolina. Bo Nix from Oregon. Michael Pratt from Tulane. Sam Hartman from Notre Dame. Carter Bradley from South Alabama. Oh, and there you go. And Michael Penix from Washington.
Interesting. You know what I'd like to keep an eye on, and if anybody has the NFL Network, or ESPN might put it on too, when they do the one-on-ones with the defense and offensive line during practice. That's where I like to see some of the guards and tackles go after it on offense and defense. And you hear this a lot. A lot of the general managers stick around for those practices and then leave before the game, even that Saturday, whenever the game is. They don't even stick around for the game. They just stick around for the practices. They like to see the one-on-one between the receivers, the corners, and those offense and defensive linemen. So I think that's something I look forward to, is seeing the guys in the trenches go at it in practice.
All right, so this is my new favorite listener to the podcast, Tommy Gunny, says, agree that Wandale's a good role player, but drafted too high. I like him, but he's not a second rounder. Tommy, you DM me your address because you're going to get a rush prize pack because that is exactly how I feel. I like Wandale, but he was drafted too high at the time. I'm not like those crazy Barkley people who let's all talk about it.
But Craig, if he gets 80 catches next year, 6 touchdowns, goes over 1,000 yards, it's a good second-round pick.
Dude, if he gets no, that is never going to happen.
Didn't he have like 680 yards or something this year?
We don't even have a quarter. We don't have a quarterback.
We had 3 quarterbacks and he had 60 catches. Imagine if he actually has one stable one that's around for, 15 games at least.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be good for the preseason next year. Let's do a Wandale. We'll write it down and give our Wandale predictions. What do you think?
Yeah, sure, of course. What do you call it? Yeah. Again, Brad was saying that trading up, the Giants need all those picks. I'm like, the biggest issue is the quarterback. We can't get any better if we don't have the quarterback. I know we need linemen, but linemen have already proved out that you can grade all pro linemen in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, right?
Except for the Giants. We haven't been able to do that.
No. Well, no.
Giants are the exception to the overall.
Giants are exception. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
All right. So one is give Shawnee B a follow. Shawnee B is going to be
awesome.
Coming on the show next week. And he's going to talk some Giants football with us because we need another body. And I know that Sean's got an extensive college football background. Guy knows what he's talking about. So we're welcoming Shawnee B to the show. Name all our pro linemen in the 3rd round. Wait, only 3rd round? Is that what we're saying? I said all pro linemen can be found in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. I didn't say only 3rd round, Cold, you're in rare form today.
Wow, all pro. He's going all pro. Cole, that's really tough, man.
Yeah, I know. I said all pro or pro and Pro Bowl, for that matter. Linemen can be found in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. Oh, you didn't say only. Well, I mean, David Deal was a Pro Bowler, and he was a 5th rounder. Read the comments, old man. I did read it. Son of a bitch, Cold.
Oh, Cold is funny.
Where did these comments go? What did it say? I lost it. Name all our pro linemen in the 3rd round.
Oh, okay. He said all. Yes, that was me. Sorry, Cold. Yep. All right. Not all pro. All pro linemen.
Yeah, we don't have any all pro linemen in the 3rd round. But guys like let's see, Snee was a 2nd rounder. Deal was like a 5th rounder.
Was McKenzie a 1st rounder with the Jets? What round was McKenzie?
Look it up.
With the Jets, yeah.
Seibert was a undrafted free agent. O'Hara was a free agent pickup from Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he was 3rd round. Oh, there we go. Kareem McKenzie, Jets. He was a 3rd round pick. So there you go. Kareem McKenzie. That was a good one by the Jets.
Not back in the old day. You went, what? Wait, what? Stop. Listen, man. Call me old every second here. On the current
team.
Yeah.
No,
we don't have any.
Hey, Cold, we're lucky to have pro. Take away the all out of it. You're lucky to have pro linemen, which is stretching it.
Listen, and the guys they do keep don't even get on the field. So, we got
Andrew Thomas is it, man.
Yeah, we got a Zudu and Shane Lemieux that have been on the roster for 2 years, and they can't even get on the field, but we keep them every year.
And they're from
Shane Lemieux's coming back just because he needs to be here. No, definitely not.
He's a nice guy. I mean, he's so nice. I mean, he's such a nice guy.
No all pro. Name our all pro linemen in the 3rd round on this team. Don't have one. Unless I don't know. Unless we're talking about, are you asking me like someone that's on, like Bredesen or Glowinski and any of these guys? Like did they were never 3rd round picks, were they? I mean, I don't know. Where did Bredesen get picked? I think Galinsky was an undrafted free agent, I think. But was Bredesen drafted?
I'll look it up. And by the way, Brent Bredeson's brother plays with, I believe, Michigan. Had a pretty good game.
Zudu was a third rounder, but he's always hurt.
Yeah. The Zudu, yeah, his stock has dropped quite a bit.
Well, I looked up the linemen for the free agent Las Vegas line, and they really don't have anything that's ripe. There are a couple guys that would be, backups.
Mm-hmm.
But the Raiders didn't really have anyone that would be, in a free agent game. Nobody available that you would be like, man, there's a free agent coming from the Raiders who is going to want to stay with his coach. Like, that's just not the case. They don't really have any free agents right now that's worth screaming about. There's a couple guys, some journeymen, been on a couple teams.
Yeah. What is it? Is it Van Grotten with the Raiders?
Yeah,
Is he any good?
I don't know. He's been on a bunch of teams. How good can he be? He's been on like 5 teams.
Yeah. Is it Awanu? The guard from the Patriots was with Brasillo over there, and was like a late round pick, and he's borderline Pro Bowler with the Patriots, and he's a free agent, so he might be a guy to keep an eye on actually. With the Patriots, the starting, I think it's right guard.
Yep. Edge. Yeah, we definitely need a pass rusher. Can't depend on guys like Ward and Ojulari.
Yeah, 4th round. Ben Bredesen was a 4th rounder.
Okay. Yeah, no, Cold. We don't have any 3rd rounders on this team that have made the Pro Bowl or All Pro. Even Pugh was a 1st round pick, but he was probably better in Arizona than he was here, but he got hurt a bunch in Arizona.
Yeah.
So, anyway, guys, I'm almost positive we do not have, a show tomorrow. Rush hour's off because we're going to bring it back as a draft show. And we're going to try to go to the draft. What do you guys think about that? We're trying to see if that's even doable. That Spartan Mike is going to be in Detroit for the draft with his buddies. So Chris and I and maybe Alex are going to try to see. It's like a 25% chance that we pull it off, but we're going to try to see if we go out there. If not, we'll have our customer, follower appreciation night where we have 50, 60 you guys on to talk about, the draft and who we're drafting. So that's coming up. Combine's coming up. Senior Bowl's coming up. So we'll be back on Monday at our normal time slot. We went way, way long today. So hope you guys, we had some good conversations. You guys are the best. And Brad, JMS is going to be just fine. JMS is a lot. Remember, the guy never, in college, their season ends in November. He played 5-6 more weeks than he's used to playing, So there's a little bit of fatigue in there, and there's a little bit of lack of coaching because Bobby Johnson sucked. So
and the revolving door at the guard position. We were switching guards every week, or Giants were switching guards at both sides every week.
And he had that 2-week injury, 3-week injury. So I think JMS is going to be just fine, Brad. Like I said, just think big picture, college ball, these guys are done in November. He's playing all the way to January, right? So it's just, again, it's a lot more wear and tear on your body. These guys aren't used to it. They're just kids, right? They're 21 years old, right? So JMS is going to be fine. He's going to get coached up. Hope for some stability at the guard position. I don't know if Bredesen stays. I don't know if Pugh stays. I doubt it. Or maybe they're just backups.
I think Pugh's
But JMS is going to, he'll be fine. Again, good coach is going to help him a ton. Thanks for hanging out with us. Bang. Watching another episode of Giants Rush. I think I hit all the housekeeping stuff. Chris, you got any final thoughts on this?
No, that's it. I think we covered it all. I'm good.
Covered the coaches, covered Daboll, covered Pat Leonard just with his garbage reporting.
One thing, Aaron Wellman was hired. He's going to be the performance coach. He was with the Giants from 2016 to 2019. Was also the strength coach at Indiana with McFadden for a year or two. So he was just brought back to the Giants.
Dude, that's great information out of you. It's good stuff. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason, so we hope you guys will stick with us. Look for Shawnee B popping in and joining the Rush crew because he loves talking Giants football just as much as we do. NYGiantsRush.com. The interviews are there. YouTube channel. Tell your friends to subscribe. Hit the dang button. I can't understand why can't you guys to subscribe to the YouTube channel. But you know, all these interviews and stuff, they're on Apple Pods and Spotify. You guys know all that gig. We will see you guys next week. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Peace.